Welcome back, everybody. So good to be back. I'm so excited about today's class. Type of one, if you are excited. Ooh, this is going to be like a cornucopia of things that we are going to get into today. Some of my favorite things to talk about. Just planning for this and thinking about this conversation was already making me feel like the bubbles in the soda, like just so excited. So first of all, type a one in the chat if you're excited, and type a 2 in the chat if you were here yesterday. And so today is day 2 for you. Amazing. Fun. Okay, cool. So I love that. I feel like you had something happen yesterday, like a little breakthrough or a little aha that made you say, you know what? This is worth my time. I'm going to come back tomorrow. So I love that so much. And by the way, some of you already joined us inside the membership, and we got to see some of you on our members call yesterday. So that's amazing. And by the way, you can always join this membership, which is daily meditations from me, classes every other week live on Zoom like this, a collective, an amazing community. And by the way, if you use the code BOOK, that expires tonight, but that gets you $25 off the $97 a month. You can cancel anytime, but if you want to get it for $25, even less, you can use the code BOOK, which is like a rebate in case you want to go buy my book. We're basically paying for the book and giving you that back. Okay. So today we're going to talk about a few different things. And one of the things we're going to talk about is changing our relationship to money so that we can allow abundance to move through our life. How does that sound? Good? Are you excited for that? Who thinks that on a scale of 1 being the least and 10 being the most, what would you say right now is your relationship with money? If 10 was the best relationship possible, it flows, there's ease. From 1 to 10, where are you on that scale in terms of your relationship with money and abundance? Okay, so I'm seeing there's a little bit of room for improvement here. Some people are at a 4, some people are at a 7. I love the honesty because when we are mindfully aware, right, we are able to zoom out without judgment. You know, the definition of mindfulness is having attention, right? Paying attention without judgment. It's just being a witness to what is. And as soon as we can just zoom out and be a witness, we can actually make changes to things. We actually have agency at that point. And so I think it's honest for all of us. I think that there are always ways that we can keep expanding our capacity to receive and to be in flow. So I want to tell you a few things today. And I also am going to have you do an exercise. And so you're going to need a piece of paper and a pen. Of course, anyone who's been with me for a while knows that I can't usually find a pen, but I can usually find a crayon or a marker because I have 3 daughters who, no matter how many pens I buy, and I really love buying office supplies, gone, poof, it's like socks. You can never find the pair. If there's pens on my desk, they're gone. So I did find this color marker, which is a really pretty color. I was actually looking to see if it said the name of it. It's like a salmon color. It's really pretty. Okay, so you're gonna need a pen and a piece of paper at some point today. So grab that. And we are going to, just so we're aware of sort of the overarching view of the day, we're going to work a little bit on our money so that we can open up the vessel to receive that. And we're also going to work on manifestation because those two things are so fun to talk about and they're so fun to play with. And I want you to change the dial so that you're more in sync with all of that. How does that sound? Okay. So the first thing I want to do is tell you something that is so important. And since this whole workshop, right, is stemming from the wisdom that I have gleaned in my life from studying Kabbalah, I want to give you a amazing way, amazing tool, an amazing understanding of this universe. Okay. So we often get sucked into believing the illusion. Okay. And what I mean is that 1% of the world is what you see. Okay. The physical reality. And 99% of the world is spiritual. It is non-physical. Okay. So 1% of the world is the physical reality, and 99% of the world is a spiritual reality. This is so important because when you put on the right glasses, right, and you see through God's lenses, You will be available. You will summon the mystical. You will summon the miracles. You will walk right into synchronicity all the time when you have the clarity, right, of seeing reality as it actually is. So one thing that can help you understand this is that we understand that when you look under a microscope, right, and you understand that the atoms that make up everything, right? Atoms, everything's made of atoms, right? We know that. That's a little bit of science, right? Well, an atom is 1% particle and 99% energy. So if atoms make up everything, then that actually scientifically checks out, doesn't it? That everything is made of atoms, and we now have the technology to see that atoms are not 99% physical and 1% energy. They're 99%. 99% of an atom is actually energetic. It's not actually physical, and 1% of an atom is actually a particle. And what they now say is that that particle is spinning so quickly that they're not even sure that that 1% is actually a particle. So consciousness, right? Energy, the 99% that we don't see with the naked eye is actually reality, okay? And so when you start to zoom out and you can appreciate that and you can understand that, then you will actually be guided to, right? Exactly where you need to be all of the time, because there's a spiritual chessboard of what's moving the pieces around, and there's a linear physical chessboard. And often we're looking at the world through the 1% lens of this physical illusion of reality. And we believe that it's up to us to figure it all out. It's all on us, right? And when we're in that headspace, we're not even available for the miracle. We won't bump into the miracle because we're not available. We're blocking it because doubt and fear and that narrow way of perceiving is actually going to keep you from the mystical experience. And I want to give you a couple examples so that it really starts to like make sense to you. Okay. So right now, some of you know this story, some of you don't. Right now, I'm sitting in a house that's very real. It's you can actually touch it, right? There's a house here. And the story is an example, okay? The story is an example of exactly what I just said. My father passed away last July, July of 2024. And for years, for decades before he passed away, he would tell my sister and I, all the time, I just want you to know I'm leaving you my house. I'm leaving you my house. And we'd be like, Dad, that's so dark. That's so morbid. Like, you don't need to talk about when you die, leaving us anything. We want you to live, you know? And it was just a constant point of conversation. He just mentioned it, mentioned it, mentioned it. And we talked about his estate. We talked about, and we were like, Dad, we don't need to have your house. And by the way, long story short, but my parents had a really ugly divorce. And when my father left, my mom and I didn't really have anything at all. My grandmother, thank God, gave us money so we could pay the electric bill. My mom and I lived in this little apartment, and I went to work at the age of 15 to kind of help with the household. And things were a little bit hard, a lot hard. Okay. And so I think years later, my dad had a tremendous amount of guilt and regret, and he wanted my sister and I to know that this house, and he had this beautiful, like 2-bedroom condo overlooking the beach. He wanted us to feel like the sanctuary would be ours. He felt the need to tell us this all the time. And long story short, without getting into the details, after he passed away, there was a lot that happened with his will and with his estate and the things that he said would happen and the things that were actually happening. And for whatever reason, my stepmom decided to sell that house, and that is no longer in the picture. And my sister said, oh, like, I can't believe this happened. And I really believed that, Dad, we had rebuilt our relationship with him, that we were going to have that space and we were going to look out at that ocean as he did every single day. And she's like, I just felt like he was going to leave us a house. And I said, it's all going to work exactly as he said it. And sure enough, I decided to put an offer on a house in Florida. I decided that it was time for us to move out of LA. And I put this offer on this house that I had never been to. This is the house I'm sitting in right now. And I decided that I was going to write an offer less than what they were asking, because if it was really meant to be, it would happen and they could always counter the offer and we could always come up and all of that. So I write the offer a lot less than they're asking. And the realtor calls my realtor and says they're taking Cathy's offer, and sight unseen, they're not going to counter it. They just feel like this house is hers. And I said, what? I don't understand. Like, they had a higher offer, but they're taking my offer. And as it turned out, my last name is Heller. My father's last name was Heller. The people who lived in this house, unbeknownst to me, didn't really want to leave this house. They had raised their 3 children here. They were moving for some difficult circumstances, and their last name was Heller. And when they saw that my offer came in, they believed that spiritually this was meant to be my house, and it didn't matter to them what the numbers were. It mattered that it felt like it was the right thing. And it gave them the clarity to feel that this was meant to be mine. And when I came to see the house, because I had written the offer sight unseen, I had never even been here, but I grew up in South Florida, so I kind of know the neighborhoods. And we were leaving LA because there was a fire in Los Angeles. We were evacuated from our homes, and I put an offer on this house during that time. And I thought, I just trusted that we would, we would be led to where we need to be. And when I finally came to the house, on the door, it said the Heller home on the door. Okay. And I turned to my sister and I said, there is a reality greater than that of our understanding. And when we have the certainty in that reality, we will always be available for the miracle. And that is what I learned in Jerusalem. That is what I learned studying Kabbalah. And this is a life changer. I want to give you another example. So my best friend Jenny decides that she is going to start a business. I'm also a business coach. I coach a lot of female entrepreneurs, and she's always been inspired by all the ways that I tell her, you can create anything. We can turn nothing into something all the time. We are meant to do that. That is what God does. That is what we have been given the power to do, to turn a thought into something, to turn our consciousness into real things. And so she was getting excited about this idea, and she is a vegan, and she decided, what do you think? And we start brainstorming, what could she do with her love of being vegan? She's also a good chef. And she said, you know what? She said growing up eating at delis, she was missing like pastrami and corned beef now that she was a vegan. She's like, what if I tried to make it and make this like fake meat? There, people were making fake bacon, people were making fake burgers, but could she make fake deli meat? And so she started this business in her kitchen, and it's called Unreal Deli because it's a great name for it. It's actually not real, right? It's made of like chickpeas and beets, and she uses this like smoked seasoning, and it makes it taste like corned beef, even though it's not. It's made of vegetables, basically, right? So she makes this business, and I tell her, go for it, start selling it. So she literally just like goes to different delis in Los Angeles, and she has really good energy, and people thought she was cute. She'd come in with her baby on her hip, and she starts selling this. And she gets to a place where she's made not 100 grand, not $1 million, but just $10,000 in revenue, right? Which is awesome, but it's not yet like this amazing amount of money. And she gets this idea, like, what if she applied to be on Shark Tank? Okay. Now she goes to go through the process to apply, and they say to her, usually people don't come to us when they've made $10,000 in their business. You have to kind of have gone a little bit further so that the sharks, right, the investors, see that this is a real business, and you've just started this business. And she says, you know what? I'm doing it anyway. Like, I'm going to apply anyway. And so it's been 6 months since she created this recipe in her kitchen. She just started, she's just starting, and she goes on Shark Tank, and she winds up making a deal on the stage. She gets 2 offers from 2 different sharks. And one of the offers that she gets, if you've ever seen Shark Tank, the person who's standing on the stage usually asks for a certain amount of money in exchange for a percentage of the business. So she asked for, I think it was like $100,000 in exchange for like 10% of her business, something like this. I forgot what the math was. What winds up happening is she gets 2 offers from 2 different sharks. I think it was Mr. Wonderful, I forget what his real name is, and Mark Cuban. And for whatever reason, Mark Cuban is so mesmerized by her that he offers her double what she's asking in exchange for the same amount, which almost never happens. Like he's offering her more money than she asked for. He's giving her a better deal. So he comes on the stage and he says to her, congratulations, mazel tov, like congrats, you know, you got this deal. And they do this deal together. And weeks go by, and you know, every so often they have an exchange and an interaction. And she says to him one day, she says, you know, it's really interesting. She's like, I said on the stage that my great grandfather had a business on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. He owned a deli. And she said, and you said that your family was also from the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And he said, yeah, it's true. And it turns out, would you believe, that his grandfather and her grandfather knew each other. And his grandfather had taken a loan from her grandfather. And for whatever reason, her grandfather had forgiven this loan at some point because they were such good friends. And he kind of decided to forget it. 3 generations later, Mark Cuban meets her and does this deal with her, and for some reason is moved to give her double the amount that she's asking for. Now she's in thousands of grocery stores. She's in Quiznos. She's in Whole Foods. She's in Mendocino Farm. She's everywhere. Okay. Why? Because when you are available, okay, and Jenny and I both studied in Jerusalem, we're both studying Kabbalah, we're both interested in seeing the world through the spiritual blueprint, not through the physical lens. When you are available, you literally are in flow all the time. You're available to receive the miracle so the miracle can happen. When you are available for a bigger reality than you could do yourself, that reality shows up in your life. Type a 1 if you got what I just said. Now, most of the time, the way that our mind works from the second we wake up, there's this constant headline, which is you've got to figure this out. You've got to figure this out. You've got to do this. You've got to do this, right? And what does it do? It takes us out of the miracle because we're not available for God's help. We're not available for grace. We're like, I've got this. And so we're blocking the flow. We're blocking the light. We're not available for the 99%. So the idea here is that it's always available and so much bigger than you could ever do yourself if you could just perceive and have the certainty in what I just said. I'm going to tell you another story, and then we're going to talk about money. When I was in college, okay, I started out as a Bachelor of Fine Arts. I was a theater major at Florida State University. They have a really good theater program. And I wound up dropping out my freshman year because I was really frustrated and I wanted to study anyway what life was really about. And I wound up taking classes in world religions and anthropology and philosophy. And I sort of gave up on the theater thing. But the reason that the theater thing had been important is because if you know anything about my personal family history, there's a lot about this I write about in my book, but for whatever the reasons are in my family, if you could become a performer, that was considered like the ultimate, you mattered, right? My mom idolized people like Judy Garland, right? My mom loved Fred Astaire, and there's a whole reason and a history. My grandfather was a dancer in the Catskills with Gregory Hines and his father. There's a whole reason why there was a certain amount of power and meaning given to people who had that kind of that kind of performer, that kind of fame, right? My older sister, when I was in high school, was the lead in every single show. And she went to NYU. She went to Tisch for theater, which was no big surprise because she was considered like the most talented kid in my high school. She won every single award. She won the awards for the state. She was, you know, she was at Juilliard when she was 18, performing in front of Diane Weiss, doing Shakespeare. Like she was literally living out this sort of dream that my mom had set down for us when we were little. It was like, it was in our cereal, so to speak, when we were growing up. And I always felt this big because I didn't have any of that going on in high school. And my parents, as I told you before, got divorced, and my parents saw so much in my sister that my dad didn't leave the house until she went to college. But as soon as she went to college, he left. He felt like he had gotten her off to NYU, and that was his big victory. And I was very much invisible and forgotten. And so when I got to college, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to drop out of this trying to be somebody thing. I don't even want to do theater. I'm going to go do something else and expand my mind. Long story short, my senior year of college, even though I had not been in the theater department this whole time, I saw that they were auditioning. The senior play was going to be The Diary of Anne Frank. And I just felt like, you know what? That show is so meaningful to me. I'm going to audition for it. And so I auditioned for this show. And many of you have been in my community. I was taking a walk this morning, realizing I don't think I've told you this story. So I auditioned for this show, and there's tons of talented people. In fact, I don't know any of you who know Emily Fletcher, but she went to my school. She was considered like the most talented girl in the Florida State Theater Department at that time. She's no surprise. She has so much charisma. Anyway, so I audition, and there's all these other people auditioning for these parts. And for whatever the reason, I get called back for the lead to play Anne Frank in The Diary of Anne Frank. And it comes down between me and this girl, Jamie, and we go through callback after callback. And our professor, the director, he was really deliberating about it. And I thought I was going to get it because I did the monologue, when she says, I still believe, in spite of everything, that people are good at heart. Like, I burst into tears, and I did this monologue so well. And we wind up getting to see the cast list, and I was not cast as the lead. And I went to see the director because I was sure that this was going to be my moment. Like, here I was, I didn't have even a speaking line in the chorus or anything in high school, nothing. And here I was, my senior year of college. It was the last moment where I maybe could, make good on that part of me that thought I would be worthy if I could finally do something like this, right? In my mom's eyes and my dad's eyes. And I don't get the part. And I go to his office hours and I say to my director, what happened? Like, I really thought I had this part. And he says to me, and if Jamie's listening, like, I don't know if she ever heard this story. He said, the truth is, you were the best one. You do have you have the chops. Like, this should have been your part. I said, so what happened? And he said, well, you're 5'9". And the woman who's playing your mother is shorter than you, and so is the woman playing your older sister. And Jane, you're five, I'm 5'9", and he goes, and Jamie is 5'2". And he goes, at the end of the day, it just didn't make sense that you would be so tall because you're supposed to be like 13 years old. It doesn't make any sense. And I start crying because I realize, oh my God. So the reason I don't get this part is 7 inches. That's the reason I don't get this part. Now, hold on, because the story gets really good. So it was like madness to me. I was like, that's so out of my control. Like, that's insane that I don't get this part because of my height. But it made all the sense in the world. Like, why? That makes sense, right? That just makes a lot of sense. It has to be believable that you're this little younger kid. It doesn't make any sense. So weeks go by, and my sister, as I told you, she was an actress. She had gone to NYU, and she, at this point, I was a senior, so she had already graduated from NYU, and she was doing Broadway tours and working in New York City and doing tours and all of that. And weeks go by, and she calls me and says, I see that the poster goes up because now it's been a couple months, and I see that the Diary of Anne Frank is going to be appearing at the school. And I realize that opening weekend is coming up, and I'm feeling so frustrated. Like, I can't believe I'm not a part of this cast. I know I'm graduating in a few weeks after that. That was like the last hurrah. It was just interesting. So my sister calls me from New York, and she says, I'm going to be in Florida. And I went to Florida State, which was in Tallahassee. She says, I'm going to be in Florida. I'm going to be in Orlando. I'm going on this weekend retreat with this rabbi who teaches Kabbalah. And I thought she was nuts. I was like, what are you talking about? That sounds crazy, but okay, good for you, right? Like, I roll low key, like, what are you talking about? And this is before the days of iPhones or GPS, right? This is 2001. This is like May of 2001. I'm graduating college that June of 2001. So she says to me, why don't you drive down to Orlando? Because it's a 4-hour trip, and I'll meet you there. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. And in those days, remember what we did? We had to print out like MapQuest and like take an actual piece of paper, like a map, to tell us where to go and how to get to certain places. And if you wanted to talk to someone, remember there were no cell phones, you had to like figure out a way where they would leave you a message. You'd call your answering machine to hear the message, things like that. Okay. So Saturday night of this weekend, I drive down to see her. And as I'm driving down, I realize, oh my gosh, well, this is interesting. It's opening weekend of the Diary of Anne Frank, and I'm not going to be in town. And I wouldn't have seen my sister if I would have been in this show because I would have been, in the show and she would have been in Orlando. But okay. And that just like that idea is in the back of my head. So I drive down, long story short, I don't get a message from her. I decide to stay in a hotel because I was supposed to hear from her. And here I am, like 21 years old, staying in a hotel in Orlando by my, actually, I wasn't even 21 yet. I was 20. I turned 21 in June, right after I graduated. So I'm 20 years old. I stay in this hotel. I'm like, this is such a weird thing. Like, why did I drive down here? I don't know where she is. I don't know how to get a hold of her. She said she was going to leave me a message on my answering machine, but she didn't. So the next day is Sunday. We were supposed to hang out that Saturday night and Sunday morning. And I don't hear from her. So I wake up on Sunday and I have the map and I'm trying to get to this retreat site, which is like in the middle of nowhere, like behind a lake. Like it's so hard to get to. And I wind up getting lost. And I remember her saying that her flight leaves Orlando on Sunday at like 12:30 in the afternoon, but we could see each other Saturday night and Sunday morning. So here I am on a Sunday, and now it's like 11:45. I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going. And finally, it's like 12:15 in the afternoon, and I pull up to this retreat site and I start to cry because there's no one there. And I realize what just happened? Why on earth did I get lost? Why on earth did I come? I don't know where she is. This was such a waste of a time. It doesn't make any sense. It was so random and it's something just didn't feel right. So I'm about to get back and remember in the movie Big when he goes back to try to find the Zoltar machine and there's just like nothing there, but there's some like debris of like, cotton candy and wrappers on the ground and there's a breeze and you can tell something happened there, but there's nothing there. That's kind of how it felt. Like it felt like some energy had happened at this campsite and there's a volleyball net swinging in the breeze, but nobody's there. And it was just like this movie scene. And I took it in for a second and I could kind of feel on some level that something had happened powerfully for my sister on this trip. And I felt this feeling of like I missed out on that, but I wasn't invited to it. And I was just standing there and I'm about to get back in the car. And this man starts walking toward me and he says, "Wait up." And I'm about to get in the car and I come around the car and he says, "Are you Barbara Heller's sister?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, she just left for the airport like 35 minutes ago. She was trying to get a hold of you. She was telling us, that you might be coming here." And I said, "Oh," and I start to cry because he had such a loving kindness. And when you like need to cry and someone's finally like kind to you, the tears just start flowing. And he said, what's interesting? He said, "I think you're crying because you're so sure that you drove down here and went through all of this because you were supposed to see your sister and you missed what you were supposed to have." And he said, "But what if you actually came because you and I were supposed to have lunch or something?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, because," he said, "I don't even know why I just came out here." He said, "I was supposed to take a nap and something told me to get up and walk outside, even though the last bus had left for the airport. Something told me to come outside. And there you are. And your sister kept saying that you and I need to meet. You and I need to meet. She just knew it. And it was Rabbi Aaron." And I'm looking at this man. I've never met this man in my life, but he has like freckles and reddish hair. And he's talk about height. I'm 5'9". He's like 5 foot, He's just like this sweet little sprite of a person. And he goes, "I just have one question for you. Do you like tuna fish?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Let's go." He's like, "I have some leftovers. Let's go in the kitchen." And we sit down and we talk until the sun set that day. And he said to me, it makes me cry. He goes, "I don't even know why I'm going to say this, but you just told me you're graduating college in like 8 weeks." I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Would you like to come to Jerusalem and spend the summer and live with my wife and I and our 7 children? Do you want to come live with us and just spend the summer?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I didn't even have any plans after college." And he's like, "Well, come. You have a space. Just come. Come be with us." And so it was the most mystical day of my life. I drive back to college. The whole drive back, when you don't even need to listen to music because the music is the music in your heart, right? I get back to college. I had a Mickey Mouse telephone. I call my sister who's now landed in New York City. She goes, "Oh my God, what happened? I'm so sorry." She's like, "I tried to leave you a message. And by the time I left you a message," she's like, "I didn't have the address and I didn't know what was going on." And anyways, a long story short, and I said to her, "Barb, it all worked out." She goes, "Did you guys meet? Did you guys meet? I wanted you to meet so badly. I know you're supposed to meet each other." I go, "He's the most special person I've ever met in my life." And she goes, "Yeah, I just spent 4 days with this big group." She goes, "But I didn't have that one-on-one time with him. That's amazing that you had that." And she goes, "Wow, I'm so," and I said, "But wait, there's more." I said, "He invited me to come this summer to live with him and his family in Jerusalem." And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Oh my God, that's so amazing." And I said, "But I asked him if I could bring you." And she's like, "You did?" She's like, "I can't believe you asked for that." It's like we're like Anna and Elsa. And she goes, "Well, I don't know if I can go because I'm living in New York and I'm in between Broadway tours and I have this job, and I don't know if I can go for the summer because I have to ask my boss." And it's like a perfect job because she had this job, and listen to the story, it gets better. She had the job that allowed her to have the job in between doing a Broadway national tour. And the job that she had was on the 52nd floor of the second tower of the World Trade Center. And this is June of 2001. So she wasn't sure because she'd just come back from a tour. She loved her boss. Her boss always gave her a job in between being on tour. And you know how hard it is for an actor to have a steady job and also be able to make auditions, right? Anyway, so I wind up graduating from college, June. So it's a few weeks later. It's my birthday. And of course, on my birthday is the day that I'm on a flight leaving for Jerusalem. And my sister and I have a bunch of conversations in the weeks before this trip. And we're deliberating if we should go or if she should go or not. And she also says to me, it's not safe all the time in Israel, and there's wars, and are you going to be safe? And I'm like, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Like, I'm going. And she decides to come. And she's like, I'll come for a few weeks, and maybe not the whole summer, but my boss said I could come for a few weeks. And we both go and we have the most amazing time. And within days, we know that we're not just going to stay for the summer, that we're probably going to stay for a few years, which we did. And sure enough, a few months later, she and I were going to buy our first cell phones at a cell phone store in Jerusalem, and there's TVs on in the store. And we see on the news these two twin towers were hit by airplanes. We thought it was somewhere in Tel Aviv because we thought it was local news. Of course, it was New York City. And everybody in my sister's company, except for one person, was killed that day. And had my sister not come to Israel with me, she would have been in the towers. And the whole story is so powerful, and it's a true story. And if I would have been 7 inches shorter, none of those things would have happened. I would have played Anne Frank. I never would have gone there, right? I never would have met Rabbi Aaron. I never would have become the person I am today. I never would have brought my sister with me, and my sister would have been in the Twin Towers in September of 2001. So when you are, and this is really what I'm here to tell you, okay? When you are plugged in to the truth of the universe, you are always going to be in flow. When you stop trying to figure it out, when you really want to learn manifestation, this is where Kabbalah changes your life, because 1% is what you see, and 99% is trying to give you the blessing, trying so hard to give you a miracle. And you block that miracle when you think you have the whole picture and you're spending your time resistant and pissed and frustrated and in doubt and not feeling the connection to something so much bigger. And so if you were to ask me, why is it that my life has felt like it's just one synchronicity after another, and I've been able to live this life that literally feels like a magic carpet ride? It's because of being in flow. It's because I'm so available. I'm so certain that it's not up to me to figure it out. My only job is to be certain that the the God of my understanding, bigger than what I can see, is constantly moving the pieces around, constantly moving the chessboard. And when you live your life that way, and it's an amazing feeling to wake up every day and say to God, I can't wait to walk into the synchronicity. I'm going to let you steer the ship today. You tell me where you want to go. My only job is to be at peace. My only job is to be certain. My only job is to surrender the control and let go and know that I am being guided all of the time, no matter what the mind tells you, right? There's so much more that's actually going on. Tell me in the chat if you are getting it. If you are getting it. Okay. So in my book, I wrote about how the name of my book is Abundant Ever After. Okay. Abundant Ever After. Literally. That's what my life has been. And the subtitle, Simon and Schuster said, what do you want the subtitle to be? And I said, I wanted to talk about the path, right, to ease and prosperity, because prosperity comes through ease. When you let go of the wheel, right, and you actually can see and you are available, you're just tapped in and turned on, what is so much better and bigger and more unbelievable than what you could have ever asked for is what you're going to get. And if you were to zoom all the way out and think about where I was my senior year of college and that moment when I didn't get that part, a part of me was like, but that's the thing I want, right? And how many times are you begging because you think this is the thing you want? You don't even know how much better it can be. Like, imagine if I would have gotten that part. That would have probably felt pretty fulfilling, right? Because there was a part of me that felt like I would matter and I would feel worthy if I did that, right? And I accomplished that. Finally, I would be, seen as someone in my parents' eyes, right? That version of our ego that wants the things that it thinks it wants. But look what wound up happening to me, right? I wound up basically meeting Mr. Miyagi. I basically wound up meeting Yoda and going on the adventure of a lifetime that I didn't even perceive, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to zoom out and we're going to put all of this together. So that was a huge lesson in manifestation, okay? You will literally summon the mystical and manifest your face off when you are in certainty, right? The question is not what do I need to do? The question is who do I need to be? It's the being. And when you're being, when you are in well-being, when you are in high vibe, when you are in certainty, you're in the vortex. When you are in flow, you are available for the 99% of what you can't see, and you know it's looking to move through you, and you are available for it to move through you. It will move through you. Do you get it? Yes or no? Give me a yes or a hell yes if you get what I'm saying. That's how we manifest, okay? Now, when it comes to money, right, as one of these things, it's not that dissimilar, but I want to give you a little bit of help with this. So I want you to take out, type a 1 if you have a piece of pen, Do you have a piece of pen? Do you have a piece of paper and a pen? Okay, so some of you have done this with me before. So you're basically going to draw a sun that looks like this. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay. So I just drew a sun. So can you go do that? So draw that for me. Draw that. And once you draw that, say ready. So I know that you're ready for the next thing. Okay, great. So now in the middle of this circle, okay, and you can do it so nobody sees it, so you can be completely honest. We're going to talk about money for a second because there's so much to this. By the way, can you tell why I love having a membership where I can give you classes every other week? Because there's so much I want to share and teach, and it's so much fun for me. Can you tell how much fun I have doing this? So if this is inspiring and you feel like this wakes you up and gets you back into the place where your radio is tapped in and turned on, you should be joining this membership because you can join month to month. It's $97 a month. And I think that there is no amount of value you can put on your own energy being tapped in and turned on. So let's freaking go. You can join us, go to cathyheller.com/life, and the code book expires tonight, but that gives you $25 off. So then it's not 95, it's whatever, I'm bad at math, whatever 97 is minus 25. Okay, so I'm also a business coach, by the way, and we have a mastermind program, which is for those of you who want to grow your business and grow your manifestation and all of the holistic tools that you know I'm going to teach you Kabbalistically. We have that for you as well. Okay. So now we're going to talk about money. In the middle of this circle, I want you to write a dollar amount that would feel so good, like so good, if that amount of money just showed up in your bank account. So write down an amount of money. Okay, so I wrote an amount. You can write any amount you want. It doesn't matter, right? This is literally a game. This is our consciousness, moving things, moving our vessel, okay? So we're just having fun with it. So then type the word done when you did it. Once you put an amount of money in there, put an amount of money into the center and just write the word done. Awesome. Great. We're not done. We're done with that part, but we're not done. Okay. So now, you know how you have these lines? Okay. So for whatever reason, I'm playing this game with you guys. I wrote $11 million. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now on these lines, okay, I want you to write what is the feeling, okay? What does it feel like? Let's say that you had this money, whatever you wrote down, 500,000, 6 billion, infinity, 800,000, $45,000, whatever it is. I want you to hang on before you write these words, close your eyes for a second. And I want you to imagine that this money, it's here, it's done, it's in the bank account, you have it, it's yours. It's there. Feel that feeling of, oh my gosh, it's here, this money. Now, what is it that feeling, how would you describe it? Let's say you have this money show up in your life. What is it that it makes you feel? Does it make you feel peaceful? Does it make you feel electric? Does it make you feel expansive? Does it make you feel secure? Now you're going to feel for a second, and then when you're ready, you're going to open your eyes, and on every single one of those sun ray lines, you're going to write a word to describe how this feels. What does it feel like? Okay. So what are the words that you would name? How would you, okay, so write it down. I see people are writing excited, free, safety, relief. Good. Write it all down. Okay. However many lines you had, fill those lines with those words. Okay. Joy. You can put relaxed, independent, electric, elated, sad, calm. Keep going. Grateful, loved, generosity, awe. Awesome. Good. Keep going. Comfortable, expansive. And some people are writing things like stressed, nervous. That's interesting. Proud, confident, luxurious, synchronistic, lit up. Okay, awesome. Now, just for the heck of it, and the truth is that even though we see your names, there's a lot of anonymity here because not everybody knows each other. If you feel like it, write the amount that you put in the circle, just for the heck of it, because it doesn't really matter. It's very arbitrary. So we have 444,000, 50,000, 222,000, a million, 100 million, 10 million, 500K, 20 million, a billion. Now, I want you to just notice how it feels just reading people's numbers. When you see what people wrote, do you have a commentary in your head? Are you like, oh, why'd they put so little? Or are you like, oh, why'd they put so much? Or what are you thinking? Or are you happy for them? Or does it make you feel excited when people put bigger numbers? Or does it make you feel scared? Just what are you feeling as you read people's numbers? Are you feeling, somebody said they're feeling excited for them. A feeling of I need to expand, a feeling of infinity, a feeling of happiness, a feeling of wonder, a feeling of excitement. Okay, so it's just interesting, isn't it? The amounts are too low. You feel curious. I should have put more. Okay, it's so interesting. Now, I want you to turn your piece of paper over. And this is why I shouldn't use a marker because everything bleeds through. Okay, when you turn the paper over, I want you to, we're going to come back to the sundial in a minute. Turn the paper over and I want you to write down the word money. And according to what your parents told you, I want you to finish the sentence. Money is what? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it hard earned? Is it what? Money is what? Money is a tool. Money is power. Money is control. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is useful. Money is necessary. Money is scarce. Money is essential. Money is the root of all evil. Okay. Money is good to have. Money is hard to come by. So I'll tell you this. There's a lot of things that I could have asked you. What were your parents' beliefs about? And you wouldn't know. Like if I said to you, what did your parents believe about the South Pole? You'd probably be like, I don't know, we didn't talk about the South Pole, right? Or if I were to say to you, what were your parents' beliefs on quantum physics? You might be like, I don't know, it never came up. Or if I were to say to you, what were your parents' beliefs on, I don't know, marine biology? You might be like, I don't know, it didn't come up. But what did come up was the conversation around money, their beliefs around money, okay? It's definitely a topic of conversation. It's definitely something that people are either, they have a good relationship with it or a bad relationship with it. It's the same way that people kind of have a relationship with love, right? People sometimes, you can go on all the dating sites, but if deep down you believe that love is dangerous, you won't get close to somebody, right? There's a lot going on with our relationship to relationships. Similar with food, right? Some people are very hard on themselves when they weigh a certain amount. Some people reward themselves with food. They take food away. It's like really interesting. There's certain topics that we have just a lot of noise around in our head because there's a lot going on with what's happening within us and how we project onto certain things. And it's very important for us to understand how to zoom out with this, okay? So I want to tell you something right now that's going to be really, really helpful. We're going to talk about what Kabbalah says about money, what the Talmud says about money for thousands of years old, and what we come to know about it. But we're also going to talk about the way that we've been. By the way, do you want to see my cat? He just came here. He's really cute. Take a look. I mean, what do you say? Okay, that's a cute cat, I have to say. That's Pancakes. Very good, Philip. So cute. By the way, Philip, it's so, of course, you would join the membership because Philip was the first awesome man, the only man, the first who joined. Now we have a few more who joined our membership. And my dad passed away last July. And when my dad passed away, our relationship was like fully healed. And my dad's name was Philip. And of course, Philip joins this membership and he's like the coolest, most awake, most spiritually conscious, most beautiful soul. And of course, you showed up here. Yep. Anyways, but yes, he knew the name of my cat, Pancakes. Okay, so let me tell you a couple things. Number one, when it comes to what Kabbalah, what Judaism, what the Talmud for thousands of years says about money, let's take a look at that. The Talmud says that money is like rain in a garden, like rain in a garden. And what it means is that rain in a garden is an expander. It's an activator. Why? Because if rain falls on weeds, weeds will grow. If rain falls on roses, roses will grow. So the rain will expand, will activate, right? Whatever is there. Money is the same thing. So if a person has a generous heart and they have money come into their life, what do you think they're going to do with the money? Just take a guess. If a person has integrity and a person has a generous heart, what will the money do in their life? They'll do good with the money. They'll give the money. They'll share the money. They'll create beautiful gatherings with the money. They'll give scholarships and their names will be on the bottoms of the hospital buildings, right? And they'll also live a beautiful life, right? And can you think of anybody who has a lot of money who just seems like a graceful, decent person? I don't know why. I don't know I've never met Kate Middleton, but she just seems like a lovely person. And I think she has a tremendous amount of money, right? Dolly Parton is a good example. Joanne said you. Thank you. That's really nice. Thank you, Judy. So there's a lot of people, right, who I've met. I've been fortunate enough, especially living in Los Angeles, doing a lot of philanthropy. I've met a lot of beautiful, amazing women, actually, specifically women, who are just so generous with their energy, with their love, and they're amazing moms, and they do a lot of good for the world. And they also practice a lot of self-care, and they've been really good models for me. They've really shown me how to thrive in the world and create a lot for other people, okay? Now, if somebody who is out of integrity has the blessing of money, what will happen to that person? They'll be worse, right? Because money is an activator. So if there's somebody who has like lousy instincts because they're just not a good person, they're not a generous person, they're a very egocentric, selfish, centered person, they'll do a lot of damage with the money. And I'm sure we can all think of people who we've known in our families, people in the world, people in the news who have a lot of money who just like, they're just like not good. They just do a lot of damage with the money, right? So is it the money or is it the integrity? Is it the money or is it the essence that grows, right? That gets activated and expanded. Now, so too, can you think of people in your life who have no money, who are lovely and generous? Yeah, right? My grandmother grew up, I just took my kids to the Tenement Museum on the Lower East Side. I showed them the poverty that she came from, just the most generous person. I was once in Beverly Hills. Some of you know this story. There was a homeless man who used to stand right in front of the fertility clinic, which I used to go to all the time when I was going through IVF. And I used to always hand him $1 and go into my IVF appointment. He was there all the time, and I went through years of this, so I used to see him all the time until one day it was raining and I had to go really quickly because I was like being, doused by the rain, and I grabbed like a $20 bill instead of a dollar bill, and I thought about it for a second. I was like, oh, just give him the $20 bill. And he was like, thank you, you're a miracle, you're a blessing. And he used to always tell everybody, you're a miracle, you're a blessing. He had amazing energy. And as I'm running past, because it's raining, I hand him the $20 bill. I see that he hands the $20 bill to another homeless person a second later. Like that $20 to me was nothing compared to what it was to him. He gave it all away. So who's really rich? How rich was he? He just gave it all away, right? So now, on the flip side, can you think of people who you've known in your life or people you've heard about in the news who have no money, who are horrible? Of course, right? There are jail cells filled with people who had no money, who did horrible things, and there are jail cells filled with people who have a ton of money who do horrible things. So it's not like the less money you have, the nicer of a person you become. And it's not like the more money you have, the worse of a person you become. It has nothing to do with the money. It's about who you are, because what did Wayne Dyer teach us? What did Gary Zukav teach us? What does the Kabbalah teach us? Intention creates effect. It's not cause and effect, it's intention. The power of your intention is what creates the effect. When you carry the intention to be a steward, to be a blessing, to be for the highest and best of all, you will always create that effect, whether you have the money or you don't have the money, right? However, the money is already here. It's already in escrow. So what keeps us from allowing it into our life is that there are deeply held subconscious beliefs that keep us from allowing it in. And those are some of the things that we wrote about before. The society that we've lived in, right, as till the beginning of time, tells you two things that are both lies. You want to know what those two things are? They're both about money and they're both lies. Number one, the more money you have, the more worthy you are. That's a lie. Is it true? You're worthy the more money you have. If you have 5 cars, you're more worthy than if you have one. No, but what is society always telling you? Here's your status. What's your status? How much do you have? You need to have more. You need to buy the next thing, buy the next iPhone, buy the right, have more. And you start to feel this feeling of, if I am given, right? I mean, if I have this, then I will be powerful. In the eyes of other people, it will be validation for me, right? That's one lie. But you know what the other lie is that society tells you? On one hand, the more money you have, the more worthy you are. And on the other hand, people with more money are bad. Those are both lies. And it's a double bind. Because when the second you wake up every day, your mind says to you, you better go be more worthy. You better go prove your existence. You need to have more money. So you feel this urgency. It's like, it's never enough. You're never enough. And then you feel, wait a minute, I'm supposed to judge the people who have that. All of that is garbage. The truth of the matter is that true abundance has nothing to do with how much physical stuff we have. What makes us feel really abundant is feeling at peace, is seeing the world through the lenses of the mystical, is having a creative thought, is feeling like we're in flow state, is having a day that feels like synchronicity. It's feeling like we contributed when we go to sleep every night, that we were a blessing to somebody else. And what's interesting is that when you did the sundial and you wrote down those things, go back to that for a second. You said how it would feel if you had this money. And what did you write down? Peace, expansion. Now, is it the money you want, or is it those feelings that the money represents that you think you'll have once you have the money? So I'm going to say this again. Do you want the money, like the pieces of paper, or do you want the feeling of what you believe it will give you? You want the feeling. You're chasing this thing because you think this thing will give you those feelings, because you've outsourced all your power. But when you know, we talked about this yesterday, when you tap into the infinite amount of those feelings that lives in you already, the feeling of expansion, the feeling of peace, the feeling of wisdom, the feeling of true security, because you are truly secure when you know that you're connected to something greater than yourself that is always working for you, that you are a vehicle for this endless light, that you are so more than worthy, because love is the most powerful thing in a room, not the car someone drives. You don't have to earn it. And you don't have to judge someone who has money, because there's nothing to judge. And why do people then say the people who have the most money, you should judge them? Oh, because if you're told that you're only worthy if you have more than the people who have it, you should be jealous of them. No. How about we start to be not jealous, but we start to be envious and inspired by the people with the best energy, because they're the most powerful anyway, right? So it's all a racket. And that's all in the 1% of reality, right? Because on the spiritual level, what does your soul want? It just wants to be a conduit for the divine. It just wants to fulfill its destiny. And so when you start tapping in, you're going to feel all those feelings now. And we don't get what we want, but we get what we are. And we don't create from lack. We create from overflow. We create from wholeness. So when I was living in Jerusalem and I was studying Kabbalah and I was living with Rabbi Aaron's family and eating pita and hummus every day, do you think I felt rich? I felt like I had entered a portal into the dimensions of the universe, and every single day was like the best, my most favorite day ever, because my consciousness was so expanded and I was feeling so connected, like God was a local call and we were talking to each other all day long, and I was seeing myself as I really am coming alive. So when I moved from Jerusalem to Los Angeles. I told Rabbi Aaron, I just feel like I need to go there. I didn't have a single family member there. I had never taken a trip there in my life. I just knew I needed to go. There's a million more stories of synchronicity with that. And I wind up going there. And the truth of the matter is that all of the people that I would meet were so hooked into like, I want to accomplish this. I want to make my dreams come true. And I was like, oh my God, every day my dream is coming true, because I'm always at the right place at the right time because I'm awake. That the miracle is going to find me. God knows my address. And I could be sitting on a park bench and someone next to me could have more money than me or less. It doesn't matter because we don't live in our palace. We live in here and in here. What's going on in here? So the recipe for manifesting money, and this is what's so awesome about how the universe works. If you took all those feelings of how you feel and how you think you'd feel if the money showed up, and you were to feel those feelings right now, you'd summon that amount of energy toward you on the physical three-dimensional level. Because we get whatever is in our inner world, the physical world is a mirror for. So when you meet someone who feels whole, who's not looking for validation outside of themselves, but they are walking in their own integrity, their energy is just tapped in and turned on, they're at peace, their nervous system is so beautifully alive and regulated, everybody wants to be around them. And so in my life, it's wild to think that my mom and I were living in this little apartment and I was working 2 jobs to help us to pay the electric bill. And now I make millions of dollars from just having a blast because I didn't need the millions of dollars. When you don't need it because you're swimming already in the cocktail of what already lives inside of you, you draw it toward you because the energy within you is what you were looking for outside of you, and it will never come from what's outside of you. When you are in wholeness, you create more. When you are receiving, it just expands, and you didn't need it anyway. Type of 1 if you're starting to get this. So there's so much more to this. And I wish that, honestly, I'm such on a roll all the time when I'm teaching that I could literally sit here for another, I'm looking at my notes and I'm like, oh my gosh, there are so many more things that I wanted to teach you, but we will get there. This is where we need to direct our focus, okay? When we let go of feeling as though there's something wrong with us if we have more money, we'll allow it in. If you believe, and I said this before, that falling in love on some level is dangerous because maybe on a subconscious level you saw your parents get divorced and you said, I'll never be that vulnerable with somebody and I don't want to get my heart broken, then you're going to sabotage every date, right? If deep down you believe that fundamentally having money makes you a bad person, you won't give up your feeling of wanting to be a good person for more money. When you realize that the more abundance you have, the more abundance you create, you wouldn't block yourself from having abundance. There's so much more to this, but the truth of the matter is that I said yesterday that we are a vessel, we are a light bulb, and God is the light. Be the lamp. Our job is to get out of the way, stop the block, and let the most amount of light pour through us. Why would we stop any level of light and abundance from moving through us? The word currency comes from the word current. It means that it's meant to keep moving. And I said yesterday that when we desire fully, but not for the self alone, but for the world, when we desire to be a lamp to everyone around us, more flows into our life because money was not meant for you to hold it. It was meant for you to expand it. So when money comes in, I had Barbara Corcoran on my show and she said, every single time I've made $1, before the dollar even comes in, I already know where I'm spending it, who I'm hiring, what I'm investing in the market, right? Money is like blood in the body. It's got to keep moving or else you're going to have a blood clot. When you don't need it to feel worthy and secure, because you feel worthy and secure being a soul that's connected to the divine, then you could be a steward for it because as soon as it comes in, you can let it go. You can keep putting it back in to the collective and expanding it and expanding it and expanding it and expanding it. Type of 1 if you get that. So This is so huge. This is why I just need, when you're like breastfeeding and more than the baby needs to like drink, you need to like, because your boobs will like kill if you don't actually give it away. It's like the amount of wisdom that has changed my life, the amount of insight that has given me so much more ease, so much more of the tools to tap into the infiniteness, the manifestation that is. It is just so vital and powerful that I have to talk about it. So yes, in my book, I do talk about money inside the book. I think you would love it. The book became a USA Today national bestseller, which was awesome because I told my team I'm allergic to trying to meet any list. Who cares? I just want to write the book like a message in a bottle. I want it to wash up to shore and touch the one person it was meant to touch. Anything else, it's gravy. And of course, when you let go, that's when it comes in, right? You will enjoy your life so much. You will start shifting. People will say to you, you look different, you seem different. What's happening? And that's what's happening to people in our community. It's so amazing. The things that are happening, the ways that they're moving from this 2.0 level of themselves changes everything. So I want to tell you two things. Number one, if you want to join this membership, if this feels exciting and yummy, come and join it. You can go to cathyheller.com/life. We meet every other Tuesday for a live session, and I send you daily meditations. And I just added not only daily meditations with like a 1-minute power of intention for your day, which you get every day, and this amazing community. But now every single week, I'm also going to send you an audio drop just about money because I want you to also have this piece to start chipping away at this deep unconscious program that is keeping you from allowing yourself to be as abundant as you're meant to be. So we're going to be changing your relationship with money inside this membership, changing it. Like if you want to change your relationship with money and start allowing it to flow in your life, this membership answers that. And if you want to start manifesting and learning more about these tools that you can plug in, right? Like as if you're a toaster that's been sitting unplugged, you want to plug it in so the electricity actually comes through it. That is what this wisdom, that is what Kabbalah will move through you. And you can join us. And the code for the book code expires tonight. So we're giving you the code book, which is $25 off the $97 membership. And then you could basically, we're paying for you to go buy my book if you feel like the book would be helpful. I think that you would really like it. The paperback comes out on 11/11. Of course, Simon & Schuster didn't even realize when they picked that date. It's again, synchronicity, 11/11. That's when they chose to put the paperback out. Also, for those of you who are looking for a business coach, we do have a mastermind level for those of you who are entrepreneurs who already are, you've been at this for a while, you want to grow it, you want to scale it. Type of 1 if that might be you. If you want to be inside of our Wealth Identity Mastermind, it is unbelievably powerful. There is a 24/7 coaching like hotline where people have me in their pocket in between calls, and there's other coaches in there. I also do a call with them every single week. There's hot seat coaching. There is a 3-hour virtual retreat every single month to help you bring in more expansion and revenue in your business. And there's a hypnosis session in there once a month from an amazing hypnotist. And there's also now a session once a month on human design. And we're really expanding your capacity to move your identity where you are already this 2.0 version of you. You walk like her, you live like her. So if you're interested in the Wealth Mastermind, that is a higher level thing for those of you who are at that level. That is business coaching. If you want that, you can go to cathyheller.com/wealth. But for those of you who just want to keep the fire on the stove and keep seeing what will happen in your life if you stay connected to this wisdom, imagine if every single day before you pick up your phone, you just make the commitment to listen to me for 1 minute in the morning, to come back in. How could your day change? What miracles would you summon by tapping into the 99% of reality and consciousness rather than looking at your phone first thing in the morning and spending your whole day with the ceiling on your ability to allow in the miracle? So that is what we're doing. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram. And we're just so excited to welcome you guys in. I loved spending these 2 days together. I hope that this was nourishing. Tell me right now, what is one of your breakthrough takeaways from the last day or 2 days? I want to go so much deeper with the money piece, and I want to go so much deeper on the manifestation piece, which is why I want you guys in this membership. I want to keep allowing you to marinate in it until you just remember to remember it all the time and start seeing the shifts, because when you shift within yourself, everything around you can't not shift. It all rearranges to you when you are in this sense of your alignment, right? This is when life gets really, really good. So I'm just looking at your takeaways that we want to tune into our frequency. We're a vessel for being good stewards. Yes, the money is already there. It's all in escrow, right? When I asked Rabbi Aaron, had he heard about the law of attraction, he said, it's better than that. It's the law of reception, because there's nothing to attract from over there to over here. It's already here. You just have to be willing to receive it. And everything we talked about today is going to help you unwind and help you allow in the blessing. And so I hope that it's starting to make sense. So if you felt like you enjoyed this, come and join us, be a part of this community. I think that if this feels good and you feel inspired, make a decision that keeps you in it. So that's why we created the membership, because it's something that's accessible. A 1-minute meditation you all have time to do every single day. And this gives you that to tune you in. And it's amazing, by making that one choice every day, how it changes your day. And with the code book, we wanted to make it something that everyone could be in this teaching and everybody could experience this. And there wouldn't be a barrier for you to be able to access that. Think about how many things you spend money on at Target that you don't need. You go in for paper towels and you leave with $300 worth of who knows what, right? And so you can make a decision to be inside the membership and be giving yourself this kind of consciousness all of the time. So you can go to cathyheller.com/life to be in. Yes, it's 11:11 right now. What a cool thing to notice, Holly. So you can come and join that. And then if you were interested in growing your business and having business coaching with me, you can check that out at cathyheller.com/wealth. The code book expires tonight at midnight, so you can go use that if that feels good. And I have a podcast called the Cathy Heller Podcast, and there's more of this content. There's almost 1,000 episodes. So you guys can go and enjoy that. But I've enjoyed being with you so much, and I can't wait to just continue this. So type the word yes if you want to continue and just keep building upon this. I can't wait. We're going to dive in. There's so much more. As soon as you sign up, by the way, for the membership, there are several modules of videos from me, which you can start watching to get you to go even further with your abundance. There's also an entire course that you get called Abundant Ever After, which used to be a $3,000 course. You get a module of that also every single month to really be able to like get the popcorn, sit down, and after you watch Dancing with the Stars, there's a tremendous amount of content for you to watch, for you to just keep moving through, changing your relationship with abundance. This is the place to do that. I think that we've had a tremendous amount of success. And if you want to be a part of it, we'd love to have you. I love you guys. We'll talk soon.